Tony Merigi on the other end. So Tony, please take it on.
Mtazamaji, kabla niweze kuvuka hadi kaunti ya Mombasa tuweze kungana naye Boniface Msangi atueleze hali ilivyo katika kaunti ya Mombasa. Mtazamaji, allow me to ask you one more time to remind you the question of the day this morning. We are asking you, what is your opinion on the latest fuel price hike? Mtazamaji, tuambie maoni yako ni yapi kuhusiana na swali la siku. Tunakuuliza kwa njia kipekee asubuhi. Mtazamaji, utuambie via SMS lakini pia hashtag on Twitter. Swali lipo hewani kwa sasa mtazamaji, utuambie what is your opinion about the latest fuel price hike. Mtazamaji, kumbuka jana jioni EPRA wameongeza bei ya mafuta ya petrol kwa shilingi 8, diesel kwa shilingi 8 na kerosene kwa shilingi 9. Kama mwelekezi wangu Kasavuli ataniruhusu nisome feedback mbili. Someone hapa anauliza kutoka maeneo gani? Kutoka Embu. Anasema kwamba Kalistas anasema kwamba wanashukisha 1 bob, wanapandisha 1 bob. Enough is enough. That's a comment in regards to the question of the day. Then we have Evans Wabwire says, watching live from Lunga Matayos, Busia, this government are corrupt. That's a comment in regards to the question of the day, kupanda kwa bei ya mafuta. And the last comment from Kipchumba Simatu says, they are recovering money for empowerment. It shows real bad governance and economic failed regime. Mtazamaji, tuambie maoni yako ni yapi kuhusiana na swali ya leo ambalo tunakuuliza, what is your opinion on the latest fuel price? Mtazamaji, now allow us we shift our gears hadi county ya Mombasa. On the right check tuweze kuungana moja kwa moja na mwanahabari wetu, that is Boniface Msangi, atueleze hali ilivyo. Mtazamaji, kama Msangi unipata kwa njia kipekee asubuhi leo, tuambie Mombasa kunasemaje? Na we all know ya kwamba Mombasa watu wananga haraka kuamka asubuhi. Kuna trafiki ama mambo yako vipi? Msangi, uwanja ni wako.
Nairobi, kaunti ya Mombasa, hali shwari. Mie ni buheri wa afya na tumai pia wewe pia huko buheri wa afya na wenzako studioni. Ila kaunti ya Mombasa basi hali ya anga ipo shwari, usafiri kama kawaida uko katika hali ya makini. Niko katika mzunguko hapa basi wa eneo la Marikiti au kipenda unaweza kuita mzunguko wa Barclays ama Absa Bank. Basi ni mzunguko ambao unatumiwa na magari kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, ambao mpiga picha wangu kuonesha basi magari hayo kwa sasa yale yanaelekea upande wa nje ya mji wa Mombasa, Nyali Bridge, Kongoya, na yale yanayoingia basi yanatoka kwa maeneo ya Bamburi, Mtambo, Kongoya, yakija katikati ya mji wa Mombasa. Na pia vile basi mzunguko huu basi unaunganisha moja kwa moja kuelekea maeneo ya Posta, na pia vile maeneo yale yanayokwenda bandari kuu ya Mombasa kupitia ule mzunguko wa pale ambao uko tu watu wachache tu kutoka hapa hivi nilipo. Basi ni usafiri ambao kwa sasa basi wale wachukuzi uchukuzi ama hawa wadau katika uchukuzi wa umma basi wamehitaja ile nyongeza ya mafuta, basi huenda pia ikawapelekea wao kuweza kuhakikisha wanaweza kuongeza nauli kiasi ili kuweza kujikimu, na pia vile kuweza kuhakikisha basi usafiri huu unaendelea vizuri. Nitaweza kuongea na wao tu, baadhi yao tueleze pengine wanahisi vipi pia kutokana na ile hatua ya EPRA kuweza kuongeza bei ya mafuta humu nchini. Lakini pia vile basi hali ya usafiri ipo salama, japokuwa kwa sasa bado wachuuzi katikati ya mji wa Mombasa hawajafungua maduka. Wanafungua tu moja polepole tu maduka yao tu, wanafungua moja polepole maduka yao kuweza kuhakikisha basi hali ya biashara na uchukuzi inaendelea. Kama unafahamu, Mombasa ni mji ambao pia endapo kuna kucha basi hali inakuwa tu ya utaratibu, hakuna haraka sana hapa kaunti ya Mombasa. Lakini kwa sasa hali ya anga ishwari kabisa, na pia vile wale wadau basi katika sekta hii ya uchukuzi wanasema basi nyongeza hiyo ya mafuta huenda ikawapelekea kuweza na wao kuhakikisha basi wanajaribu kuongeza kitu ili kuweza kuhakikisha usafiri unaimarika. Barabara hii pia ni barabara tu ya wengi wanafahamu kama barabara
Mtazamaji, tuwie radhi, that is our very own Msangi. Tumempoteza kwa njia ya kipekee, lakini alikuwa anajaribu kutupatia update on county ya Mombasa kuhusiana na hali ilivyo. Mtazamaji, tuambie this morning, later on I shall be coming back niweze kupaint for you a picture katika barabara mbalimbali hapa Nairobi. Kumbuka mtazamaji, we shall be crossing over to other counties later on just to update you njia za kipekee za kuweza kutumia. Manake as you see me on TV hapa asubuhi, kazi yangu ni kuhakikisha kwamba hauchelewi kazini, just to update you the busiest and the safest way ya kutumia, ndiposa kama unafaa kufika kazini by 8, mimi kazi yangu ni kuupdate ndio ufike mapema, na sitaki mkosane na mdosi wako.
All right, and from the situation on your barabara, now it's time for us to delve into crucial matters. And with me in studio is Justina Wamae. You've seen the posters going round online, and now finally she is here with us in studio this morning. Welcome, Madam Justina.
Thank you, Theo.
I hope you're having a good morning.
I am.
It is quite chilly, but indeed you must have a good morning.
We have no choice.
Yes. Maybe just to catch up from maybe what Tony has been doing.
Yes.
He's been seeking to understand what do Kenyans have to say about the recent price review by IPRA. Maybe we can start this off. Just also want to hear what it is that you have to say about the latest fuel price hike in the country.
We agree that government cannot control OPEC prices, but when you look at our pricing structure of fuel, government collects 37% of taxes. That includes taxes on excise duty, which is usually around 15% or around 10%, you see. They have road maintenance levy, which is 9%, petroleum development levy 3%, we have railway development levy 1%, we have import declaration fee 1%, and then value added tax, which is 16%. So when you add all those taxes, it comes to 37% of the taxes. Most of the time, I think our fuel costs are even more than the landing costs. So I think what government should do is try and remove some of these taxes, because as the fuel increases in prices, obviously there's going to be a ripple effect. And when you look at people who are really complaining, the ones who are paid pay slips, they're not getting a salary increment. So you end up affecting or inflicting pain on your Kenyans because of these taxes. So I think the issue now is taxes, because we can't control our global fuel prices. Yes.
But what they're saying is maybe because of the Iran-Israel war that has affected the prices of fuel. Does this hold any water?
It doesn't, because we agree they can't control OPEC prices, but they can control from our end the taxes they collect. That 7% is too much, and I think fuel is a low-lying fruit for them. When they feel like adding something, that is where they run to do it. But what are Kenyans getting in return? What are Kenyans getting in return? So I think the issue now should be cutting down the taxes on fuel.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. And also onto something else that has been happening in the country for quite a while, and maybe we want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes.
When you look at the number of women who took part in last year's and this year's protest, it has really grown.
Yes.
Especially when it involves largely political issues as compared to previous years.
Yes.
From where you sit, what really changed? We are seeing quite a large number of women now taking up protests. What really changed?
It's the fact that Kenyans have realized, despite being a woman, despite being this tribe, when they don't influence and shape policies that make life easier for you, you end up suffering. So there's an awakening to be an active citizen, despite being this gender or not. Yeah, I think that's what has shifted.
So you're also saying women have also decided to stay woke.
Yes, they have. They have no choice. Yes.
And also, recently, Madam Justina, there is a happening that is actually even in one of the dailies.
Yes.
That involves a lady by the name Julia Wangoi.
Yes.
Who is actually the latest victim of deadly police violence, who actually died in police custody. And based on this happening, just days after we've buried Albert Ojwang, are Kenyans being taken for a ride? Because we can't just finish one case of Albert Ojwang and then just barely days after, even he hasn't, the soil hasn't settled, there's yet another case of a girl still. Same script.
Including Boniface Kariuki.
Are Kenyans being taken for a ride?
They are, but I think it goes back to our police training. When you look at I know this budget, the police got 150 billion, but what is it compared to what they required? Most of the time, what suffers in policing budget is training. So I think our police are not trained enough to deal with contemporary issues that are emerging issues such as demonstrations. When you see them alighting their trucks, they alight with guns, so it's like they're just coming to shoot people. And when we watch movies, we see them with shields, we see them wearing helmets just to protect themselves, or rather to control the demonstrations. So I think, one, it goes back to training. Two, I think also age. They're recruited when they're very young. Look at Clancy after shooting Boniface Mwangi. Later is when you see he's being remorseful, I think. He didn't have the second thought at that time because of age. So Kenyans are being taken for granted, but I feel our police training is not adequate enough to handle things that are contemporary. Yes, they're still in the colonial era.
So the best way to deal with police brutality, according to your own view, is we need to handle the training aspect of it. Just the other day, Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen also announced a raft of reforms. And one of the reforms was also around the area of training and equipping the police with what you've just mentioned. So maybe from you, do you think this is really going to work? Is it the first time we are doing this?
I guess if we also change how we do it, you see, in our police force, there are police who go to Kiganjo, there are police who go to GSU, there are police who go to the other one, administration police. How about we rationalize their basic training? All of them go for the same training. Because sometimes you see like the GSU are more violent than these other police. If we rationalize their training, the basics, and then you specialize later, I think that is a different aspect. But again, there's something that our police force, I feel, is politicized. Theo, when assuming I become president, I'm going to get everyone from my village and help them join the police. So one, maybe it's not your passion to be a police officer, or yeah, it's not your passion, but you're just there because of the job. Probably you were meant to be a musician, but because of income, you're just there as a police. So you're not motivated to do that which is right. I guess so. Yes.
And as a champion for democracy, maybe we'd also want to hear from you. Do you think protests in Kenya have lost their cause?
I believe at this point they have, because I've always questioned why we are saying Ruto must go. The only way he should go is then the right process, which is constitutional. Maybe he should be impeached. But saying we're going to go and get him out of State House, then it becomes another issue of loss of life. I know the Gen Zs will not agree with me, but I've seen people who are losing more are the younger generations. When police unleash the brutality on them, they end up losing, their parents end up losing their own children. I wish that energy is forwarded towards registering as a voter, joining a political party that you support, volunteering to be a party agent, so that you protect the vote, as opposed to going physically to remove the president. Because at the end of it all, do we still want a stable country? So it has lost the cause because we have forgotten what was the initial purpose. Firstly, it was the finance bill. People were arguing from an economic perspective. And I don't know what happened around there. It became an issue of this one must go. So I'm not really supporting government, but I'm supporting the process of removal should be constitutional. Again, when the goons come, they water down everything, because I'm sure when businessmen and women lose their property, they end up cursing them under mano. And everyone is saying, just stay home and let us do our business and wait for the right time when we shall remove him through the ballot.
And are you in support of what the young people are doing? Because when you say you beg to differ with the young people, do you share the same school of thought that they should push for good governance through the means they are using, or you are not in support of what they're doing?
I support them. Unfortunately, when the goons infiltrate, they are all put in one basket, that due to demonstrations, property were destroyed. And that is why if the goons are government generated or government propelled, then they end up being put in the same basket that people lost businesses. So for them, it's easier to remove themselves from the space of demonstrations. Now focus on what is the right thing. The right thing is voting. Let's do it from the ballot. I feel it's okay. This is like Betty Shaungua with William Ruto, Betty Shaungua. So let's just focus on the future. Voting in the right people, voting in policies and legislative proposals. Because I think where we also lose it is that people start saying, this one is good. We look at the person, but we don't see what they are pushing for. And that is where we end up again complaining, because the problem is never solved. And at this point, the issue is unemployment. So we need to start questioning all those ones who are putting themselves forth. how are you going to deal with the issue of unemployment? That should be the key issue. Yes.
We had the president saying the issue of unemployment is not happening for the first time during his regime.
Yes.
He said it was there during President Kibaki's regime, Uhuru's regime, and now his regime.
Yes.
Is this a valid reason for him to escape this concern being raised by young people? Because they said, mimi msiniuliza maswali hii imekuwa, you know, it's not my problem.
It's not valid. It's not a valid argument because one has forgotten that over time population change, it becomes more diverse. During Kibaki's time, probably the number of graduates who are unemployed was lower. Over time, they never influenced policies and legislations to create employment. So over time, the number has been growing, the number has been bulging. Another thing, Kenyans should understand that at the level the president is in the executive, at the level our MPs, anyone in National Assembly or Senate is, that is called a strategic level. There they are expected to come up with solutions in terms of policy and legislative proposals. And
so
that is
has
why
the president failed on that aspect?
He has, and that is why I'm questioning the fact that why should he be earning a very large salary at that strategic level and he's not giving us solutions? He should be giving us the solutions. And what he should do instead of complaining is just doing his job. He had a manifesto. Is he implementing it? Because Kenyans voted overwhelmingly for him because of his manifesto of bottom-up. So he should put his brains to work. He should focus on the strategic decisions that he can make to create employment instead of complaining. Because as it is, he has a bigger generation or a bigger population that is now unemployed and they are young. Yes.
Now, when we talk of providing solutions now, let's say things went well and in the 2022 general elections, you were at the running mate to Wajakoya.
Yeah.
Let's assume you would have landed to Karen and him to State House. What solution would you have provided to the young people? Maybe the country wouldn't have gotten here. What solutions would you have given to curb unemployment?
Theo, at this point, let me focus on the future. If I get there, one, we need to order the disorder in our factors of production. We need to grow our economy in a way that I do not have to be in a white-collar job. I can have options to be in sports. I can have options to be in music. Let me do all this. Let me grow the orange economy so that people can make money without it being a side hustle. One, our factors of production suck. And that's why when even government is pushing a hashtag for 420 companies, for me it's coming off like the 420 for smoking bangi, because they're not supposed to be telling us. I'm supposed to be feeling it in terms of I'm seeing people are getting employed. I'm seeing opportunities to supply, to do branding and all. I need to feel, I don't want to be told by government that they've put 420 new companies. Something else when you look at even our labor force, the reason why we have unemployment here is the fact that our economy, there is no demand for these skills. Because we've not grown our economy for those skills to be demanded. So there's an oversupply. So the most important is ordering the factors of production so that everyone can be able, whether your calling is being employed, you can be employed. If your calling is innovation, creativity, owning a business, it becomes easier. But at this point, even investing in a business, one, funding is a problem. Two, local authorities are on your case. Everyone sees like running a business is a crime. So that is the first and foremost, so that everyone can pull their weight, increase the participatory rate of Kenyans, so that everyone pulls their weight towards nation building. But as it is, I think a smaller percentage, I think that 3% is now carrying the whole country on their back, and that's why they're being overtaxed.
Okay.
Yes.
You've mentioned of maybe the youth not focusing majorly on white-collar jobs and venturing into things like sports and entertainment.
Yes.
But recently, the young people in the country are saying we are venturing into entertainment and music. But again, the government is following us into that and also coming again and taxing us.
Yes. And Kenyans have no problem with taxation. By the way, when you listen to Kenyans, are like, as long as you tax me and I'm seeing what my money is doing, go ahead, because we know that taxes allow this country to move forward. But when Kenyans miss where their money is going, when Kenyans pay taxes and when they go to hospital, there's no medicine, schools have no, funding, no books, then they wonder, where is the money? So, and again, government needs to incentivize, those sectors to give you motivation to join the sectors. Are they doing so? No. And then government also needs to realize we need investors in the sector. Government shouldn't do everything. And that's why I always argue that our government should not be the single largest employer. Government should just focus on legislation, regulation, and taxation, so that we allow private sector, the ones who are investing, to be creative, innovative, and efficient in doing these things. But when government says, oh, I'm going to open studios, I will give women diapers, so they're carrying the whole luggage of building the nation without knowing how they will do it. Yes.
And when you talk of the 420 companies, isn't it ironical that just recently there was an article that said close to 10 companies or 10 so plus companies have left the country for neighboring countries like Uganda and Tanzania. Isn't it ironical?
It is, because if they were telling us that the cost of power has gone down, if they were telling us that the political environment is conducive, the environmental factors are conducive, that Kanjo is not harassing everyone in manufacturing, then we'll believe the companies have come to invest. And the problem with this administration is the fact that they tell us what is happening instead of allowing us to feel. You see, sometimes we see a report that World Bank has said the economy is doing well. Who is World Bank to tell us? We are the ones who are supposed to be giving feedback because we live in that economy. We are the ones who should be saying, yes, our GDP is growing because I'm selling my avocados and I'm seeing returns. But so it becomes them telling us that we are doing well, but we are not, they're not allowing us to give feedback. And that's where the disconnect comes in.
Great.
Yes.
Still also into a matter that has been hot in the country, still in the line of protests and demonstrations. We've had accusations that there are people funding the protest, which are being driven, and it has now, the conversation has changed, and the protests are now being said they are being tribal. Your thoughts on this?
That's an old way of thinking. And I want this government to realize they are dealing with a generation that is woke, a generation that has information, a generation that watches movies. There's so much we are going through away from what our parents are going through. Remember, the reason even Moi stayed in power is because he was controlling information flow. So we didn't know what happens out there. So at this point, they need to realize it is not a political problem we're solving. We have an economic problem. They have to give us economic solutions, and how, so that people, they stop seeing like, oh, people are against the presidency. If people had money, if people were, their lives were thriving, they wouldn't even have a problem. But at this point, the cry is that there is no money circulation, we are not employed, there are no opportunities, the cost of productions like energy is high. So they need to listen to the real issues and forget these sideshows of it's a political problem. Yes.
Great. And when we talk of forgetting that it is a political problem, do you believe there were people behind this protest from where you see it, from your point of view?
I want to tell Kenyans that they should realize that politicians maximize on votes and Kenyans should maximize on utility. What am I saying? From the onset, the demonstrations were genuine. They were raising concerns that make sense. But obviously politicians who want to maximize on votes took advantage of it. And that is why you're seeing the former deputy president telling the youth to stop demonstrating. So, and I'm seeing them asking, who are you to tell us you are not part of this journey? You were in government, for God's sake, by the time you were coming to, we were demonstrating. So why are you telling us to stop? So because politicians' nature is to maximize on votes or to be seen to control a crowd, then they infiltrated the whole conversation, and then the plot was lost there. Yes.
And there has developed quite, let me call it an affinity or an affiliation by the young people to the former deputy president. I don't know, how do you interpret this?
I think they're lost because, again, they are saying they need opportunities, but are they questioning how he's proposing to create the opportunities? They are not. For them, again, they are clinging on the fact that he's abrasive, he's shooting down the president, he's getting back at him. Is that what we really want? No. Because at the end of it all, Kenyans want solutions on how I have graduated and I want a job. Remember at one time he told graduates, during graduation, there are no jobs, you go from Jengo at affordable housing. So at this point, they might really support him. And then if by God's grace or not, he gets into power, and then the question of unemployment comes up, I'm sure he'll start telling Kenyans, even if you remove my trousers, the same way he told us, and beat me up, there are no jobs. So they should be questioning him that in as much as we are listening to you, in as much as we are getting attracted towards your angle, what is your solution towards our problem, which is unemployment?
He says the solution is getting President Ruto out of power.
And then, you know, that is where we lose in this country. And then we never answer the question of and then. After he leaves power, and then that is, we need to ask. And then comes with the policy and legislative proposals. Because at least someone, when they sit on that seat, they know what they're driving towards. They have a vision that is already established. But by just saying someone goes home, which they will at the end of it all, and then what happens? What is this one proposing? Yes.
Okay. The president also came out and accused parents and the church of inciting the young people. Is this making sense that now the church and now being accused of improper parenting and the church failing on its mandate? That's why the young people have taken it to the streets.
Again, the president should realize he should not control how we bring up our children. He's supposed to use his brains to give us an economy that calls for demand for the skills of our children. Parents have no mistake. Theo, when you take your children through university, you're struggling, you're sacrificing. Every morning when I'm going, I see parents taking their kids to school. Why do they do that? Because they hope in future these children are going to be employable, they're going to be independent. But at this point, when someone is not independent, they have no money. Remember, even maybe this is a 30-year-old we're talking about who has gone to school and doesn't have a job. How will your parent control you? At that point, you're feeling, it's not even my parents' fault. They have done their part. The backlash now is on government that has not created opportunities for them. So it's difficult for parents to control. It's difficult for the church to control. The church is handling mental issues because someone feels inadequate. So the church feels, then make noise and let this government know that they need to work. They need to give us solutions. They have to create a conducive environment for the economy for you to be attached somewhere and for you to participate in nation building.
All right. So the president should not teach parents and churches how to bring up the young people or the Gen Zs in the country. On that note, let's take this break, and then coming up on the other side is a continuation of this discussion.